We'll quickly read this passage and look at the questions. The passage is on cleverness and the meanings that are attached to cleverness and how it's basically on cleverness, a very, very interesting passage on cleverness. I'm sick to death of cleverness, wrote the very clever Oscar Wilde in The Importance of Being Earnest. Everybody is so clever nowadays. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. This is what Oscar Wilde said. The philosopher Wittgenstein was tormented by the thought that he was merely clever, and he criticized himself and others for valuing cleverness over genuine wisdom. Just calling somebody clever was not enough. Wittgenstein said people gave more importance to cleverness than genuine wisdom. Kierkegaard, who placed a genuinely religious life before a merely aesthetic one, wrote that the law for the religious is to act in opposition to cleverness. So he focused on the religious life over the aesthetic or beautiful life, and he said that the religion demands that you act in opposite of cleverness. All right, these are all the various views on cleverness. Is there really something wrong on being clever? Even if it can get on our nerves sometimes, its associations remains overwhelmingly positive. We normally associate clever is a word with a positive connotation, right? So he says we normally associate it with something overwhelmingly positive. Cleverness is seen as a source of not just amusement but insight. It's not just a source of amusement, but because you're clever, make clever remarks, all that. So it's not just a source of amusement, but also insight. Insight means the ability to look deep into a matter. Insight, why, wisdom. Nonetheless, many will identify with Wilde's complaint that cleverness that proliferates in public life today is a nuisance. He says cleverness is associated with a lot of positive things, but many people would agree with Oscar Wilde that the cleverness that we see now is more of a nuisance. It's bothersome. Our popular media are drenched in contrived knowingness and irony. So, on popular media, you see a lot of these so called clever statements. So, the author says contrived knowingness. They don't really know the substance, but they pretend as if they know. And irony. Cleverness has become something like a currency online where hordes of commenters and commentators compete for likes and subscribers with world weary analysis and smug jokes. What should we make of this apparent degradation? So, on social media, what has happened? People pretend to be knowledgeable. So, there is contrived knowingness. Cleverness has become something like a currency online. So, you comment to show your cleverness, you have commentaries to show your cleverness, you look for more likes, you look for more subscribers with your analysis and with your smug jokes. So basically the author says social media has degraded cleverness, and what will you make of this apparent degradation? There seems to be a degradation of the so-called cleverness, and what should we make out of this apparent degradation? Let me start by trying to define cleverness a little more narrowly. So he says, instead of going just quoting, let me just define cleverness. We tend to use cleverness in two related ways. The first is to mean brilliant, sharp, and insightful, a way that others might miss. So when you a clever solution is not just effective but demonstrate imagination and a kind of a command of a situation. So you say that is a clever move. That means it's brilliant and you know the situation. You've handled it. I've got this. It arises out of and reveals a different, more imaginative way of understanding a problem. When Albert Einstein resolved fundamental problems in physics, his solutions were clever insofar as it appended assumptions about space and time that people didn't even realize they were making. So Einstein gave us clever theories, and in ways that we didn't even imagine. He told us things about the world that only he could, and we couldn't even imagine that they were there. So that is one way of using clever. The other one, we also use clever to mean something like witty, like a clever solution, a clever remark reveals command and control. So one is intelligent, brilliant, another is witty, funny. There's a detached, isolated composure with which the clever individual can survey the whole scene and make connections others can't. So generally, when you say somebody is clever, he looks at a situation objectively and he can connect dots in a way that other people who are not clever can't. In both instances, did I miss something? Okay. In both situations, clever as brilliant and clever as witty, in both situations, cleverness implies dexterity, an ability to get a grip on the world from outside. Indeed, the word derives from an East Anglican word clever, which means expert at seizing, capturing. All right? Okay, that's the passage. Which of the following can be best inferred from the passage? Cleverness and nuisance have come to mean the same thing. Cleverness has become a nuisance. Cleverness online, when you read it, it bothers you. Does not mean cleverness means nuisance or nuisance means cleverness. So, option has distorted what the author has said. The popular media has made us cleverer. Has he said that? He says there's an apparent degradation in cleverness. We try to act clever on popular media, but that doesn't mean it has actually made us more clever, so B cannot be inferred. There's a difference between cleverness and wisdom, which is why Wittgenstein was very upset that he was regarded as merely clever, right? Because cleverness, he gave more importance to wisdom. So there's a difference between cleverness and wisdom. Cleverness brings about unjust amusement. Unjust is not a word the author has used. Cleverness can be broadly be defined in two related ways. No. He said, let me narrow the definition to two ways. Okay. Therefore, the answer is C.